imposed on governance by statutory provisions, or constitutional provisions. And then, of course, there are those that I call indulgences of office and of power. And then there are those that are just pure administrative failures at all levels. And I think, of course, we should be mindful that we, the people, well, in this case, not necessarily we, the people, the military, wrote the current constitution, but, you know, to the extent that the constitution is our product or the product of society, the review of the constitution where certain provisions are problematic, especially in times like this. Oil revenues are going down, and I think they should warn the new governors and the new people of power that they should start getting used to 1/4 of the kinds of allocations that their predecessors are used to. And this has implications for how you run government and impacts, and how you can especially impact the lives of the majority and expand the economy, because that has always been the most important yet neglected part of the Nigerian good governance challenge. The fact that we have not been paying attention to the most critical aspect, which is to constantly expand the economy, bring more and more hands into the productive dynamics of the economy. All we have done is to collect and spend, collect and spend, collect from the federal treasury and spend at all levels. You know, president collects from the oil companies, the governors collect from the president, local government, and everybody is just collecting and spending. We have neglected building new wealth, expanding the loop of economic production, more hands in the productive process. We will be forced to address that now, because if we continue the way we've been doing, the greatest threat to the Nigerian nation now, to nation building, is the prospect of or the risk of economic collapse. This economy might collapse if we go on business as usual. Trust me. All the indices, all the fundamentals are there. The rate of unemployment, the sheer cost of governance, part of it, not just imposed by the Constitution, self-indulgence of power, fewer and fewer people producing for more and more people to benefit, and on like that. The lack of value addition. Look, every government ministry, department, and agency sees itself as a cost center, a money spending center. They don't see themselves also as value accelerator. Do you understand? New wealth creating machinery. And this is the two ways we should see ourselves. But everybody in Nigerian government is a cost center. Even the customs and things that bring in money, go and look at how much they really can bring in and how much they are bringing in. How much is lost to corruption. So this is the fundamental challenge of this time. And the new governors, the new everybody, the power holders had better be aware of that. The bazaar, the party is over. To spend, collect, spend, collect, spend, it is over. Otherwise, this country will conflagrate in everybody's face.
Quickly get to Ibadan, where Dr. Tony MARINHO is, of course, seated. Dr. MARINHO, Mr. OGUNSEYE has boxed, the cost of governance into three: statutory, constitutionally induced cost, administrative failure induced cost, and of course there is a third one he mentioned. Now let's take them one by one. In dealing with the constitutional induced cost, how should we approach it?
I'd like to add to the constitutionally agreed costs the cost of the political parties. We know we've just been through a very expensive election. It's the economic research people will tell us that the election costs between 1 and 2 trillion naira. That is a cost that is going to be recovered from the next government, from the next budget, I'm sorry, under normal circumstances, unless we can change things. The Constitution tells us we have to have a presidency, National Assembly, and the judiciary, and also we have to have the general polity. These require to be funded. How much we are to fund them is based on the budget submitted by the presidency. The presidency to date has submitted budgets which have become increasingly expensive, except for the last one where there was a cut. And even in that cut, the one branch of the government turned around and said, you've cut us too much, and they will up their budget by, I think, 200 billion or something. So there is it's not 200 billion, sorry, 20 billion. The issues are that there isn't the money available anymore. We have got to tighten our belt. Politicians have got to understand that they are there for service. They are not there for their own self-gratification anymore. The country cannot accommodate the type of politics and profligacy of politicians in the past. The politicians run the Constitution. That is the Senate, the National Assembly, and the presidency. Special advisors, etc., all these things have got to be cut down, maybe to part-time, maybe to no time at all. Indeed, there's those of us who think that even the Senate and the National Assembly needs to be part-time with sitting allowances. Remember Babangida's SAP. We have salaries and perks sapping our country right now. And there is an illegality, an illegally legal salary structure going on now in the Senate. They have made an illegal thing legal. Already now, retired senators are expecting to, retired Senate presidents are hoping to get salaries for life or retirement benefits for life. Can you explain that to me? In a country like ours, where most people don't even get pensions, why should somebody get a pension for life because he was 4 years in Senate as president? We cannot understand these things. These are the profligacies that were mentioned by BOLAJI just now.
Dr. MARINHO, thank you very much. It's still, it was one of the items in the amendments to the Constitution that President Goodluck Jonathan declined to give his assent to. That's to say the pension for some principal officers of the National Assembly. Let's come now to our Abuja studios where Professor Amdin was introduced earlier. Professor Amdin, what's your take, on the issues that have been raised by the other contributors?
Well, the purpose of governance is not for those who are in government to govern. The end product of governance is for the society. Therefore, if the society is being displeased, something fundamental needs to be done. It is true that governance may be based on statutory conditions, constitutional conditions, and the rest of them. But if you look at Nigerian polity, clearly, the issue has to be traced, the problem of governance has to be traced to the period of the military. The military has administered this country for many years, and therefore part of the problem we now have should be traced to how the economy was structured around that particular period. We should, where they mention constitutional and statutory, but we also need to look at the nature of the political system in operation. We are operating a presidential system that is extremely very, very expensive. We try to adopt and slightly adapt the American system. Our economy is lopsided, depending on one mono source of income. Therefore, we cannot operate what is happening in America. And that's part of the larger problem why our expenses is more in the area of the current rather than capital. Now, we also need to look at the political culture of Nigerians. We have a problem. Everybody sees government as a big well where people dip hand to make money and go back. Now the fighting in the states for coming to the Senate and House of Rep is not because they want to come and articulate or aggregate interest. The intention is because of the booty that exists. Therefore, we should look at governance in terms of the political culture. It is extremely very difficult. Now they pay for personal enrollment, parks, incentives, cars, furniture. I know there was monetization policy where this was reduced. But really, if you look at the political economy today, Nigeria hasn't got that capacity to run the kind of government we are running. There must be a great reduction in recurrent and greater investment in capital projects, because that is where the whole thing will end. So what we need to do right now with the new incoming government is to sit down and do very strategic thinking, cut as much as possible the recurrent expenditure to the extent that it will not damage the system, and concentrate on capital expenditure where people's life can be improved. Because the way it is, if you look at the previous up to this moment, you hardly see any margin of development compared to the degree to which the people at the rural areas are suffering. So I think the government must look at the constitutional considerations are there, the structure is there, the political system is there. The end justify the means, and not the means justify the end. If in the long run, governance cannot achieve developmental purposes for the society, something must be redone. And I think that we have come to that point where we have to retrace and go back to the drawing table to undertake a new surgical operation.
All right, thank you, Professor Amdi. And we have Nicholas Msheliza. Nicholas, Prof has just talked about, of course, the purpose of governance, and Dr. Mario there also mentioned the nature of our assembly and, of course, the remunerations of the assembly. Now, if we look at the presidential system comparatively with that of the U.S., you discover that, as reports say, that Nigeria is running one of the most expensive national legislative system in the world. Now, a report I have here pointed out that while the National Assembly in Nigeria has 109, of course, a member Senate with 54 committees, and the 360-member House of Representatives with over 80, precisely 84 committees, the Senate in the U.S. has 100 members, and the House of Reps with 435 have 21 committees each with 4 joint committees. Now, how do we justify this? How do we situate this?
Yeah, thank you very much. First, it is agreed that the system of government we are running is looks like that of the United States. But the difference is, in one aspect, the right things are done, and in the other, the wrong things are done. You find out that in the National Assembly, just like you've given us some graphic statistics now, the more committees we create here, the more the members get something. And just like a few of the previous speakers said, a lot of us come into government not because of what we are bringing in to add value, but because of what we are going to get. Some of these committees so formed have actually added no value to the establishments that they oversee. Rather, they have added so much on their recurrent expenditure. Some of these things have to be curtailed, and certainly these are not, I think, part of the constitutional cost that has to be borne by the country. Now, the underlying factor here is cost of governance. We find out that the kind of system we are operating here gives independence to the 3 arms, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Perhaps out of the 3 arms, it is the judiciary that is suffering most because of underfunding, which we always hear them crying out about. The economy truly is not in good shape anymore, and even for the layperson, the best way you find out that the economy has gone down is not based on even what people are saying, oil price has fallen down, but what are the ripple effects. When you go to the seaports, when you go to the airports, you will notice that our imports have dropped, and therefore it is also significant in the market areas. Now, these unconstitutional costs are more worrisome, where you find out that not only at the federal level, when you go to the state levels, you find out that governors are just doing what they want. They are making their houses of assemblies to enact laws that will give them a very big retirement benefits. All those add to the cost. You find out that perhaps a year preceding elections, Most governors will appoint special advisors, senior special assistants, in some states even up to 200 or more. And all of these people will be on salaries, and there will be other attachments, and it comes with the paraphernalia of office and so on. Now this eats deep into the pocket of government, such that there is left little or nothing for capital projects. Now, it should not be business as usual this time around, and if we are careful, if we are conscious of what is happening, if Nigerians are educated about what is happening, from now on it may form our turning point in this country, because we now know that the revenue is no longer there, the money is no longer there, the debt overhang is getting more, businesses are going to have to face stiff challenges, and so on. There are a lot of problems on ground now, but most importantly on the constitutionally imposed cost. If corruption is stamped out, a lot of money is going to be gained and can be put on capital projects, because by far what is being wasted, what is being stolen, and the corruption that is all over the land is taking much more than the officially approved remunerations for this category of people. The only thing I have to point out here again is, you see, sometimes this is a political democracy, and there is also what we call political patronage, and most of these people being employed or being assigned responsibilities or being given appointments, if it is only the statutorily approved remunerations that are paid and no kind of illegal payments are appropriated, the corruption is stamped out, it would have solved the twin evil of reducing a little bit of unemployment and then also saving for future development.
I just wanted BOLAJI at the Lagos Network Center, where earlier you identified the self-indulgences of power as one of the major costs of governance in Nigeria. But I would like you to explain that going forward in the course of the program. I just wanted us to try to deal with some of the specific aspects of the statutory and constitutionally imposed cost of governance that we're faced with. Let me give you an example. Take a look, for instance, at Section 147 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. That section provides that the President, there's a proviso to subsection 3, that the President shall appoint a minister from each state of the Federation. Now we have 36 states of the Federation. That's to say, at the minimum, you have 36 ministers. Now, that provision in the Constitution is a direct transplant from the provision we had in the 1979 Constitution, when Nigeria had only 19 states before the Second Republic was sacked. I'm sure we all recall that after the elections of 1983, after Shagari was sworn in on the 1st of October, he tried to appoint ministers, and he was playing around with various prepositions, minister for, minister with, and Dele Gewa wrote an article then. So we have that cost. Now, it's also followed by a situation where ministers are also appointed now to represent the 6 geopolitical zones. So at the minimum, you have 42 ministers. Take that up now to the next level, permanent secretaries. By practice now, permanent secretaries are appointed each from a state of the Federation, and also each from the 6 geopolitical zones. This is something that happens at the state level. You bring it down, and perhaps also at the local government level. Now, take a look also at some federal executive bodies. You have a state or a federal civil service commission, you have a federal judicial commission, you also have national assembly commissions, and so on and so forth. These are performing administrative functions. How can we begin to deal with this sources? Because you have personnel there, and then you have to bear the cost of having the personnel. BOLAJI.
Kingsley, you just beat me to it. It was going to be my next point, and I was going to use that point to directly appeal to the new president. If you were to enhance his image as Mr. Clean, Mr. Anti-Corruption, the person who wants to maintain a lean and clean government, I was going to actually say that he should quickly, as a matter of urgency, rush through, well thought out, through the National Assembly for it to be anchored in statute, what I call a protocol of benefits, perks, benefits and perks of public office. For instance, my main point, which you are taking out of my mouth, is this whole point of, look, the Constitution requiring the president to appoint a minister from each of the 36 states. I think that it's not effective. Therefore, we should revisit the Constitution, which was when I started the point I was trying to make when I said, look, we wrote the Constitution, we can always review it if it is not working for us. It is not working for us, especially in this situation. It never worked for us in any situation, even if we had money, to have 40-something ministers and permanent secretaries and countless agencies. And I think our agencies are probably in the hundreds. Okay, if you take the federal and the state agencies, we need to do what I call a structured, very rapid, maybe over 3 months, review and a rationalization of the machinery of government, of the MDAs, of the ministries, departments, and agencies. And we go down to minutiae, like how many cars can a governor have in his convoy? How many cars can a governor have in his pool? How many cars can a commissioner, even the president? And we rationalize them. Which ones of these cars will be for the press corps and any commissioners accompany him to somewhere? Which ones will be for security? Maybe 2 ferrets where you have the military people and soldiers and, police and everything. We need to go to that level of minutiae to go and re-rationalize and re-engineer the whole gamut of perks of office. That is one. The other one, the one very, very important that we don't talk about. And you see, well, I was talking politics just 2 months ago, up to 2 weeks ago, and I made a point of this whole issue of the cost of governance, because I said we needed to challenge how much exactly does it cost to run government. Is it reflected by how many taxes